Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1973 BN. Today's date is September 18th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Horowitz Delivers the Bad News to Comey, More Pain Coming. Now, over the last 30 days, Capital One, the Central Bank of Europe, and the great state of Texas have all been hacked in major data breaches. This is starting to get really out of control, guys. Who's going to be next? One of the best things you can do to help protect yourself online is invest in a VPN or virtual private network. This allows you to create a secure connection to another network over the internet. VPNs can be used to shield your browsing activity from prying eyes, whether on public, Wi-Fi connections, foreign country, or just at home. Here, let me show you how easy this is. Go to Virtual Shield, download the free 30-day trial, install it, and click Connect. This month, Virtual Shield is offering the anniversary special of 30% off all VPN plans and all premium add-ons, including Protection Plus, Residential Access, and VPI performance plans for as low as a cup of coffee. Sign up for a free 30-day trial to Virtual Shield VPN and see what the hype is about. You have nothing to lose. Protect your personal data with a VPN. Click on the link below. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, yesterday we had a show of a lifetime with that fake impeachment hearing where Nadler is continually calling individuals and having them testify, and they continually recite the Mueller report, which shows no Russian collusion, no obstruction, and there's really not that much in there. But they continually move forward with their plan, and they look like fools. Lewandowski, he played them, trapped them in the ridiculous hearing. Nobody is going to take them seriously after that. They have nothing new to offer. They just rehash the same information. The deep state is going down very slowly. They're feeling the pain. They're keeping this show alive. They're going to use it to say, hey, what Trump is doing with the D-class and everything, that's a political hit because we're trying to impeach him. It's not going to work. Nice try, though. But no one believes this. Actually, it's not even an impeachment hearing. They don't have the votes. So that plan, it right there, is down the drain. There's nothing they can do about it. And think about it. We've been hearing about deep fakes from the mainstream media, Adam Schiff. We heard it from Hillary Clinton, many others. Why? Because they're getting prepared. They're getting prepared for what is coming. And the deep state, they just got another blow from Horowitz, who testified today. The pain is here. More is on its way. We'll be talking about what Horowitz said at the hearing. But first, something strange. Now, we know that Kevin Spacey, he was accused of sexual misconduct. And the first accuser of Kevin Spacey was mowed down by a Toyota as she stepped into a busy intersection in February. Now that's kind of strange. Then we have the second Kevin Spacey accuser, which died recently, and this is also very odd. I mean, what are the chances, what are the odds of both of the accusers dying? Think about that for a second. It doesn't really make sense, does it? Now, the Justice Department is now indicting more sexual predators. Today, they announced the arrest of Jonathan Skolnick on charges of child enticement, production, receipt, and possession of child pornography. And this individual was an associate principal of Bronx Private School. And what he did, he posed as a teenage girl on the internet and had these teenagers send nude pictures. And if they stopped sending him nude pictures, he'd said, I'll expose you with the new pictures that I have. And this individual got arrested. And we have another government employee arrested for child porn. This is Pennsylvania State Senator Mike Folmer, arrested on child porn charges. Remember, it's not just Democrat, Republican, senators, or representatives. It's going to be all these individuals that are corrupt. And there's a lot of them. A lot of individuals in government They are completely corrupt. And when Trump and the Patriots say we're going to drain the swamp, it's just not Clinton. It's not just Comey struck. It's the swamp, deep and wide. They all hide out there, thinking that they can't be touched. Let's go back to post 3464. Q says, dark to light. Hunters become the hunted. This is not another 4-year election. Pedophilia, child trafficking, Satan worship, bloodletting of children, it's coming to an end. These individuals, they are now the hunted. The deep state players, they're panicking. And we know this because every time they tweet out, every time they say something, and they say, yeah, we need to stop Trump somehow, some way. That's how you know they're panicking. Look at Al Gore. You know, the individual that made everyone believe that the world was coming to an end in 10 years. Oh, wait, that just passed. The world didn't come to an end. That the snow was going to be a thing of the past. Oh, wait, we still have snow. He believes the only remedy for Trump's obscene behavior is impeachment. The only way to stop all of this is to impeach Trump. Now, we know that this is not going to happen. The House doesn't have the votes. They have no evidence, and they're putting on a show. And all these people that are calling for impeachment, they're not going to get it. All those people that are calling for impeachment of Kavanaugh on fake stories, they're not going to get it. Yes, they can make motions. Yes, you can hear it in the mainstream media. But if you don't have the votes in the House, nothing's going to happen. Then it has to move to the Senate. Then you need 2/3 of the Senate. And they're going to look through the facts. They're not just going to read the New York Times, the Washington Post, and say, yes, we believe the newspapers. Let's impeach. That's not how it works. They're going to look at the evidence. And I hate to say it, these news outlets, that's not evidence. That's propaganda. Now, very interestingly, we have top Democrat donor Ed Buck. He is charged with maintaining a drug house, and the police find hundreds of photos of men in compromising positions in his home. Now, this is a top Democrat donor and Hillary friend, Ed Buck, who was finally arrested after a third man overdosed in his apartment. Now, this individual gave a lot of money to the Democratic Party. Friends with Clinton. Guess what? It's starting to unravel. And what's very interesting is that Q, back in post 3392, mentioned this. This is July 2019. Gave us the CBS News article and says Democratic donor Ed Buck accused of human trafficking and revenge porn after man dies in his home. And Q says the hunters become the hunted. If you notice, all these individuals, they're all becoming the hunted. The Justice Department and law enforcement, they're going after all of this. Now, the Department of Justice Inspector General Michael Horowitz, he was testifying in front of Congress today, not full Congress, but many of them, and he said something very interesting. Horowitz revealed to the lawmakers that he criminally referred former FBI Director James Comey for prosecution. Wait a minute. You mean he actually thought that he was committing crimes and he thought he should be prosecuted? Why would James Comey want an apology for that? This doesn't sound good for Comey. Who didn't want to prosecute? The Department of Justice. They declined to prosecute. So I.G. Horowitz said, yeah, what we found, there's enough here to prosecute. He committed crimes. But the Department of Justice said, you know what, we're going to hold off. Why? Why do they want to hold off? Because they knew the next report that was coming up was the FISA applications. That's a slam dunk. They wanted his signatures, and they wanted the documentation on the FISA warrants to be produced so they could use that to say, hey, it's not like he didn't mean to do it. It was done by accident. No, he signed this. He knew exactly what he was doing. And we know that Barr has what? Well, he has a report. They're reviewing it. But very interestingly, Nadler, he's been pushing impeachment. Now, this information was brought out into the open way before Horowitz testified. And Jim Jordan wants to know if Nadler is going to have Horowitz, and he wants to know if he's going to have him testify, because this is pretty damaging stuff. He tweeted out the following: has @Rep Jerry Nadler been in contact with IG Horowitz about scheduling a hearing on the FISA abuse report? Nadler will review any such letter. Jim Jordan says, the letter came last week and it's only 2 pages long. Are you trying to tell me that the Inspector General, Bill Barr, they're reviewing all of this information, the IG put this out there, and Nadler is not even looking at it when there are crimes sitting right in front of him? And the letter is only 2 pages. He can't read 2 pages? No, they don't want to look at this. They don't want to have anything to do with it. They're going to have to force them to look at this. Eventually, they're going to have to do something, because the evidence will be overwhelming. And you know, Jordan, Meadows, Representative Collins, they're going to hit him over the head. And he will be stuck. He will have to drop impeachment to go after the real crimes. Or maybe he needs to be removed from his position. That's another way. Now, Andrew McCabe, he said something very interesting. He said he will not, under any circumstances, accept a plea deal if indicted for lying about leaks to the press. Now, listen to what he said here. That under any circumstances, accept a plea deal if indicted for lying about leaks to the press. Well, what about a plea deal for other crimes? Is he open to that? Because he didn't say that he's not going to accept a plea deal if he's involved in the FISA abuse, if he's involved in something else, only about lying about leaks. So that's very interesting. So, is he going to flip? Maybe. Paul Sperry tweeted out the following: breaking. It will soon become abundantly clear that the claim stated under oath by Comey, Lisa Page Strzok, and McCabe that they didn't receive any Steele dossier information at FBI headquarters until mid-September is a monumental lie, or, as they say in Washington speak, lacking in candor. So, yeah, McCabe might have said that, for lying, I'm not going to flip, but if it goes any deeper than that, I might have to. We'll have to see how this all plays out. Now, Trump, he got rid of Bolton, as we know. He was a neocon. And he decided to announce Robert C. O'Brien to replace John Bolton. And this individual is a presidential envoy for hostage affairs at the State Department. Now, he did work for Condoleezza Rice, Hillary Clinton, and we'll have to see what this individual does, how he plays the game. Is he a white hat or is he a black hat? Trump tweeted out the following: I am pleased to announce that I will name Robert C. O'Brien, currently serving as the very successful special presidential envoy for hostage affairs at the State Department, as our new national security advisor. I have worked long and hard with Robert. He will do a great job. Now, Trump did consider O'Brien for Navy Secretary in 2017, but instead appointed him to the State Department position. So I do believe that Trump is saying that he's worked long and hard with him, and he was also responsible for getting ASAP out of Sweden. He negotiated those terms. He might be a white hat, and he might be on Trump's side. We'll have to see how this plays out. Now, very interestingly, Saudi Arabia, they revealed the evidence that, yes, Iran was involved in the attacks. And they laid out all the pieces, the cruise missiles. And what they're saying is that there were 18 Delta Wing UAVs and 7 cruise missiles fired at the production facility. And they're saying it was not Yemen, but they stopped short in saying that it was definitely Iran. They were saying that it came from the north or so, but didn't say it was definitely Iran. Now, the problem with all this is that we know there are air defense missile systems set up to protect the oil facilities around Saudi Arabia. Why didn't the air defense systems launch during the attack? Think about that for a second. Cruise missiles were headed in. I mean, do they not work? Did someone shut them down? Did someone want this to happen? It's starting to seem that way. And it seems that everyone wanted to push some type of Iran war, or have a war break out in the Middle East. But guess what? Trump, he doesn't play that game. He's not looking for a war. He tweeted out, "I have just instructed the Secretary of the Treasury to substantially increase sanctions on the country of Iran." Trump is putting pressure on Iran, but he's not willing to go to war. He was not willing to go to war with North Korea, Syria. He is a negotiator. He puts pressure on the country until they're ready and willing to negotiate. Now, I do believe there was a backroom deal that was already made. They're playing out the show. We've seen this before in North Korea. And I believe sooner than later, we're going to see either side, don't know which, most likely Iran, start to say, listen, we need to talk. Now, are they going to say that? No. It will come out in another way. Just like with North Korea. If you noticed, Iran has given Europe many, many chances. We know that John Kerry has been out there and other former government officials. They were out in Iran trying to keep this deal together. And believe me, you only go out there is if you have a stake in that deal. Because if it's just a nuclear deal and Trump just wants to create a new one, it's not really that big of a deal. But if the deal encompasses something else that affects you, that's why you personally go to Iran and say, hey, don't drop this deal. Remember, they violated the Logan Act. Yeah, they're not going to get arrested or anything, but they purposely went out there because they're involved. You wouldn't do it if it's just a normal U.S. deal. Did they all go to Mexico and Canada to try to stop the renegotiation of NAFTA? No. Strange how they just went to Iran to stop this because they're hiding something. We all know it. We all know what they've done. Now, very interestingly, there was a driver who crashed into the lobby of Trump Plaza in New Rochelle. And the driver got out of his car after he crashed into the lobby, sat on the sofa without saying a word. Now, we know the deep state can control innocence. It seems like this individual was dazed, confused, didn't say a word. Was this a message to Trump? Because think about it. It just so happened someone drove into Trump's building. Does that, the odds again are astronomical. Think about how many buildings there are. And I know, yes, on MSNBC, there was an individual saying that I had thoughts of driving into Trump's building. And all of a sudden, someone did. Now, I believe, again, just like with everything else, this was a message. They know what's coming. Remember, they're going to be dripping this stuff out. There will be inflicting pain on these individuals. More pain is coming. They're going to turn the screws because they want them to freak out. They want to have them panic so they do really stupid things to expose themselves. That's how Trump and the Patriots work. It's all planned out. It's not just a one and done thing. They want them to expose themselves. Think about the border. When Trump continually hit Nancy and Schumer and the rest about the border, and he gained ground and people started to see, yeah, what? They don't want to stop gang members? They don't want to stop drug trafficking, human trafficking? They don't want to do that? Yeah, why don't the people go to the port of entry? That doesn't make any sense. Because if they truly want asylum and they're afraid of returning home, they would go to the port of entry to enter this country. And again, once they're in this country and they don't like the facilities that they're in, it's not a prison. They could leave. They can go back to Mexico. If they're so afraid, when they entered Mexico, why didn't they ask asylum in Mexico? And people started to say, yeah, something doesn't make sense here. The Dems, they were exposed at that point. Trump and the Patriots, part of this planning is to have them expose themselves throughout this process. Look at Comey, who's out there saying, I'm owed an apology. I did nothing wrong. And then we have Horowitz come out and say, yeah, he committed crimes. I said he should be prosecuted. I told the Department of Justice. But the Department of Justice said, yeah, we're going to turn this one down. We have other charges that are coming up. I mean, think about this. They're all being exposed. This is part of the plan. They just don't want it to be one and done. They want to bring the American people in, show what these people are about, and continually hitting them over and over and over, and let them tweet out. Let them expose who they really are. And then you bring in what they've done on Epstein's Island. Then you bring in the FISA warrants. Then you bring in the spying. Then you bring in everything else that they did, the Uranium One, emails. And you keep bringing it in over and over and over, letting them squirm until by the end of all this, the mainstream media and the rest, there's nothing to be said. Look at the New York Times. Put out a fake story about Kavanaugh. And they were pushing it until everyone started to point the finger. And now the whole Kavanaugh thing is falling apart. How does the New York Times look right now? They peddle fake news. What Trump was saying all this time, they actually put it out there where everyone is able to see it. Now, of course, they're trying to spin it. The mainstream media is trying to spin it. Everyone's trying to spin it like it's nobody's fault. That we're not responsible for this. Of course you're responsible. You know exactly what you're printing. It just doesn't happen in a second. People review it. People look at it. And you can see it's all falling apart. And this is going to continue. This is part of the plan. This is part of the pain. This is why Q gives us the picture of the Punisher and says pain. Because they want them to feel the pain. They want them to squirm. They want them to expose themselves. Because when they expose themselves, they screw themselves. And it's that much better. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.